And welcome back. This is Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, where no one is worthless, no story is worthless. And today, I am finishing with my boss series, Badass Women Slain Every Day. And I got one right here next to me, okay? Best believe it. I have 4 words to describe my guest. Professional, advocate, zenful, boss. Badass woman slain every day.
I like it.
Nakeya Fields, welcome
you.
to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right, see, I'm telling you now. Okay. So, before we get into everything, tell the people out here a little bit about you. Where are you from?
I'm from the IE, Inland Empire. I grew up in and around Rialto, Fontana, San Bernardino, Redlands. My mom was an apartment manager, so we kind of moved around a lot. They sold apartments really fast, so with managers, we just kind of moved. But we had housing.
Okay, all right. Like, I lived in a lot of places, and we went here, we went there, but I had housing.
Yeah, so my mom was a single mom, and you know, so I think that's a part of why I just said my boss bitch, or excuse my language, but
this is Word with Ty Brownlow. Trust me, she's a boss.
I am, and I think I just had to learn kind of the skill set from a strong mom and strong grandmothers, and I just moved forward. So that's, you know, growing up in the Inland Empire, it's not as a lot of resources as maybe greater Los Angeles area. It's more spread out. A lot of things are happening. I became a social worker. So I went through my life and I got my master's degree in social work, and I got paid to go to USC. I'm a Trojan, undergrad and grad school. But my education was paid for through this program that basically gave you money to work for DCFS, which is Department of Children and Family Services. And I worked for 2 years, well actually 4 years, but they paid my way through school to commit to them after I graduated. Because it's really hard to get social workers and keep them, so that they created these programs.
Yes, because trust me, I know the turnover and the burnout rate is very high.
And you're seeing a lot of sad stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's me, like growing up young, seeing things that I probably shouldn't see, wanting to become an advocate, going to school, and then working in it. That's how I got into my education. And then now that I got educated and was working in systems, I couldn't work for other people because I saw a lot of disparities within the systems, and I couldn't make change. In fact, I was kind of pushed out. The more you speak out against things and you want things to change and you work for somebody, the more you're quieted. So I had to go and get my own. So that's why I'm a boss, because I had to be.
I only invite these people to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Boss.
I try. A boss, but with purpose, right? Because sometimes we out here claiming boss stuff, and I really don't mind the title, because I just think we all need to be empowered. So we all need to be bosses, because we all are ownership of ourselves, and we got to take care of our bodies and our mind and our spirit. And so we all have to be bosses. We just all have different energy.
I like the way you think.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into some of these questions.
Okay.
All right. So my first question for you, working with youth can be a challenge. Where did your mission to be an advocate start? Well,
an advocate?
For youth.
Yeah, for youth. Well, I think the social work stuff was more career driven. Like, I knew that I wanted to work with people, and I started it, but I think the advocacy for youth started when I was working for a pretty large school district, and I was a psychiatric social worker. I was already licensed, and I was already working with children. And I started working with these kids in a special education program, and I just saw they weren't being serviced. Like, I was assigned to them as their therapist, but it's really difficult to pull children out of class, talk to them about what's going on with them in their life, and sometimes it's really hard, and then send them back to class and say, go learn. And I always thought that was a little weird, but that's the model of the way school-based counseling services are provided. And when I was in that program, I was like, they need more. And then I started uncovering just little things what the teacher was doing that I didn't feel was right towards these children, because most of them were children of color, and the teacher was a white woman. And I would try to do some communication with her about better ways, and and just not listening to me at all. So I left that position feeling disempowered And I think that's actually the situation that forced me to just leave and go really build my business, because I wanted to be an advocate for those children and be able to come in not as a school employee who has no power, but to come in as a true advocate that was free.
I have so many things to say about that statement you just said there, but I greatly appreciate your insight. Sometimes I talk about educational trauma, and what you just described would be that of educational trauma.
Oh, it exists.
Yeah, and sometimes parents are aloof of a situation, or they may be a little casual about it as well. Some people just say, hey, they just may not care, but I don't want to throw them under the bus like that, because I don't know every home situation. But I like that. What kind of youth do you serve? Like, what are some of the background stories? Are they from broken homes? Are they homeless? Are they single family? Like, what kind of youth are they?
We serve people.
Okay.
So my center is called the Fieldwell Empowerment Center.
Okay.
So it's comprised of Fields Family Counseling Services, which is my for-profit corporation.
Okay.
I started that first. It started as kind of a staffing agency. So what I would do is I would provide therapists that are educated in school-based services, usually play therapy, to schools and to organizations. I did adoption home studies for Department of Riverside, so I've contracted therapists out to agencies that need therapists, because I kind of figured out that there was a shortage of us.
Okay.
And I had a lot of friends. So I was like, hey, people want to come work for me, let's go get side contracts. And it was a lot of single moms that I worked with, so hey, people who were therapists who worked at agencies and at school districts, but when they had their babies, they wanted a smaller caseload. So I kind of capitalized on those professionals who wanted a small caseload of clients, but didn't necessarily want to work for a big agency. So that's how I was able to staff a lot of people. So that's how my business really started. And then it gave me funding to just keep building programs. So now I'm a registered play therapist. I'm a trauma-informed yoga therapist. I do restorative yoga. Within our center, we have 2 therapy rooms, a play therapy room and a yoga studio, because now that I'm also a doula, and we created a maternal health program. Okay. So our empowerment is for the full family unit, because I feel like health starts with the mother. So we really want to specialize in making sure if there's any pregnant or parenting mothers with children 2 and under, that we're really addressing their health and the family health, like the dad's health, the other siblings' health, right. And really make sure everybody's getting counseling. If you need couples counseling, let's work on that. If you need resources, we have a lot of connections in the community. If there's domestic violence, we partner with a domestic violence shelter called Shepherd's Door. They're a resource center. Okay. So we get clients from them, we help them. We partner with a lot of other Black-owned businesses or female-owned businesses, because that's my passion. I'm Black, I'm a woman, so I tend to focus my network around that. So yeah, we're the full package. We do play therapy, we do yoga, we do elderly, we accept most insurances.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you cover collective
health, because kids are only healthy if their family is healthy. If your village is healthy, the kid is healthy.
So let me ask this question. How do you get the parents of some of these kids involved in this? Because I work in education, and I know how hard it is sometimes just to get them to come to a PTO meeting, So when you're building, this inner health within these children, because, sometimes it's just not about like the physical health, it's like the emotional and the physical, or what have you. How do you extend that out to the family life and get that, and pretty much get that attribute to come in and meet you where you are?
You invite them and you ask them to be there. They have to want to be there. So my center is an empowerment center because it doesn't look like an agency that you have to go to. Like it has affirmations on the wall, because we do art therapy with our clients. The walls are full of art that people have created that are all affirmational and positive. And if you want to make an appointment, you make an appointment. If you miss it, we don't come at you and be like, you're in trouble with the court, or, there is just, we don't treat them like they're clients. We treat them like, I always tell my team, like, we're like a spa. Like, how would you like to be treated when you go to get your self-care? We literally are self-care. We even have an acupuncturist that comes in, do acupuncture and cupping, because I'm holistic. So I feel that like the mind, body, spirit connection is what gives health. Like if we feel good, we're gonna eat better, we're gonna have a better routine, we're gonna treat our kids better because we're less irritable. You know, we just need to take those steps, and that's why I said we're all bosses. Like we're in control of this. We're in control of our decisions, our choices, the moves we make. If we feel stuck in something, it's our important and our right and our accountability to notice that we don't like this about ourselves and make a difference and make a change. So I tell my team, so all we are mirrors, and we hold up the mirrors for our clients and say, hey, this is a service that's offered, and they come. And we also, like, if they're not ready, I am a very good boundary setter. So we have a very extensive intake. Everything's electronic. So the intake online, if an insurance company calls us and be like, we have a client, and we'll be like, well, tell that client they have this minute intake. Well, can't you call the client? No, I'm not forcing the client. That client has to go and log in and do everything, because that's a part of therapy. Empowering people to do what they're supposed to do, to make change in their life. So if you want this therapy, you're gonna do this intake, aren't you? And then within the intake is all the rules and our sessions and what we do, and you have to sign this because this is what's gonna happen, and if you wanna do telehealth, sign this agreement. So I'm very like, this is the rules, you sign in the rules, and that's the business in me.
Yes.
So, but once we have that intake, they don't have to talk money, they don't have to talk anything. Because once that's done, that's even done before they even get a phone call from us to schedule an appointment. So then we verify benefits and we call them like, hey, you got services, you covered for individual, couples, family, and group. You can come to our women's group, you can come to this group. It's all covered, no copayment, because you got this insurance. Or you got this insurance and you got a $35 copay for this, and you got a deductible. So we say all that all in the beginning, and then they make the choice, do we want to keep coming? You know, do we want to? So we just let them be the adults that the parents are. Now, when it comes to IEPs and meetings and team meetings and stuff, you have to understand, those are systems. And if you're talking about communities of color, there's a mistrust that already exists for systems. Like, why do you want me to be in this room? I can't be open and authentic with you, because if I tell you I'm feeling some postpartum depression and feeling some way about my child, you're gonna take my child.
Exactly.
And you're also gonna label my child. Like if I admit to you that he's doing this at home or doing this, then you're gonna call my kid a bad kid per se, and now he's gonna get a diagnosis, and then he's gonna get an IEP, and now he's gonna be labeled for life. Right? So that's really a huge thing that stops a lot of people from getting services when you're in education. I became an advocate outside of education on purpose because I have a PPS credential, a school-based credential where I can be a school-based counselor, and I've been often the one advocating in IEP meetings as the therapist for my clients at the schools. So I have witnessed personally seeing, not corruption, that's not the right word, but maybe.
We don't want to say corruption. Just some misdoings, maybe.
Yeah,
you know,
some things that felt icky. You know what I mean? Like while I was in the room. And I gave parents, like they have a little flyer, the school district has to give you like this flyer that says, if you need an advocate or if something happens that you don't think it's your rights, you can call this number. And I've witnessed that be given to them, but the people clearly don't know what it is. And they're scared of that too. And they don't go. So I've actually helped people call an advocate. I actually got in trouble. And like, I got called into schools, like, why are you doing this? Why are you fighting the school? I was like, when did I start fighting the school? Like, I'm very confused.
Educating the parent on what it is that they have.
Yeah, well, I think the fact that I actually called an advocate, got them on the phone. I did my work as a social worker. But that's what I'm saying. When you work for someone, you're beholden to their policy and the way they feel about what the advocacy should look like. Because they told me the advocacy looked like giving them the flyer. Because that was the flyer, right?
Yes.
So I think we have to know our audience. We have to make sure that persons look like the persons who we're trying to invite the meeting or in the meeting, who understand their culture, who doesn't offend them from the very first by being culturally incompetent from the get-go. And I think we also need to think about resources within the community and build up more community organizations where our people are feeling comfortable going to already, partnering with them so that the person inviting and getting the people in the room doesn't seem scary.
Well, boss. That's all I got to say. Boss right here. But so now let me ask you. Now you talk about meetings and things of these nature, things of this nature in schools or what have you. But let's just talk about like counseling and therapy, and you know you do deal with family therapy as well. I work with youth. I talk with them all the time. Most of them are always, you know, ripping on their like parents. Oh, well, you know, my mom is this and my dad is that, and it's this, that, and the other. And I try to be understanding about this, but I'm going to ask you. So, in your opinion, what is the one thing or the main disconnect between youth and adults in today's society?
You know, I think that parents, there's no book on how to parent.
True.
And the first time you're a parent is the first time you learn how to be a parent. And most other things, like everything in life, is usually learned through our parents and what stories they tell us.
Yes.
So stories have a really powerful effect on our children. The stories we tell about our own lives, the story we tell about what's coming. So I've seen a lot of anxiety, learned anxiety, passed down to children by their parents and the stories they tell. And I think the greatest disconnect is parents think they have to lecture and tell stories about everything. I think it's creating anxiety because, think about it, communities of color are stories of trauma, like our history,
True.
you know, complex trauma, transgenerational trauma. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's basically the idea that trauma is passed down through the generations, you know, through slavery. Like it has actually impacted us. And there's a lot of studies and research being done. You know, we are amazing people, and now there's people starting to try to get research and data about how we've been affected by the things we've been through and are currently going through. The things in the world today, even today, like what's happening in the world today is anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
So I think parents feel it. I think adults feel it. So the disconnect is that the adults think the kids don't feel it and that they're not witness to it as well. And they're so busy telling their story about this is how you need to protect from it, as opposed to being present with them and saying, I feel it too. Do you feel it? Let's have a conversation, especially adolescents. We lecture at adolescents like they just like, and they have developed a wall. You know, there's like, I hear you. I'm smiling, you know.
But I'm not paying attention.
I am not. You're just an adult who always talking at me. You know, so I think that's a disconnect. We can use stories, but let's use them powerfully. Like use stories to empower, not to lecture.
Okay. So now I see why my son does what he does every time.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm not, you know, saying anything to him to like, you know, scare him or whatever. I'm always trying to empower him to be better than what he is.
Yes, but if it hurt you and you're telling a story about you being hurt, how do you think your child feels? Yeah, because although you're trying to tell a story, so let's use criminal justice.
Okay.
Big issue, right? We tell stories all the time. Like I know I do as a black mother. Like I have a black boy. And as soon as I had him, I was like, what, world? What's happening, world? Please don't hurt my baby. But some of the stories I tell are scary because I'm like, Amari, if a police comes up to you and he's 7, so why am I telling this little boy? You know, like, but if a police, but I feel the need. But that's my fear. Right. That's my trauma. So I have to work on, and I'm constantly a work in progress. But I'm like, if a police come to you, just smile at him, and then make sure your hands out of your pocket, and because he's a big 7, like he looks like he's like 10. So it's a real thing.
So, but I mean, that's my point. Yeah. So, you know, you don't want to mislead the children. You don't want to mislead the youth. You don't want to give them false hope or whatever. But at the same time, you don't want them like, man, like, okay, I always have to look over my shoulder. Like, I want them to be, okay, well, man, I'm going to go down the street. Yeah, I may know the dangers of going down the street, but I'm going to go down the street because that's where I want to go. No one's going to deter me from going down the street. Whatever, you know, comes my way, comes my way. Sometimes that's a little like, hey, don't be foolish now. You know, if there's something down there that's going to end your life, please don't go down.
Like you hear some growling.
Right.
Like,
I mean, seriously,
don't go down
if there's something down there unknown that you're, come on, man, like, be sensible about it. So, okay, all right.
I just think use caution and awareness.
Caution and awareness.
Because we have to tell the stories, but how often are you telling the story? Are you recreating this thought, redirecting their thoughts to this worry more often than it is needed? You know, it's just awareness, you know, all the time.
Okay, all right. So, how do you find a connection to youth to help them open up And is it always receptive?
I think it depends. I'm a big advocate of energy. Like, I feel like if a client walks in, so I read the intake. So as a director, all the intakes that come in, I review, and I'm like, oh, I think it'll be best assigned to this therapist, or I'll take them. So when it's one that I think I'll take, it's usually one that is maybe a child who needs play therapy, because we only have like 2 registered play therapists in our practice, but we do get a lot of people who are specifically requesting play.
Yes.
And you can do play therapy with a child without being a registered play therapist, but I look at the intake to see how intense the behaviors are. You know, can it be just with a kind of regular master's level therapist or licensed therapist who doesn't have a credential, but they could handle it?
Yes.
So I'm the one who's kind of determining that. So when I'm reviewing it, I'm like, oh, this person clearly would benefit from art therapy, so I assign it to the art therapist. So I'm being already trying to figure out who would be most receptive to the client from the very first, because I ask questions in my intake. That's what I said. I do a lot of boundary setting in the beginning. So the intake is very much like, do you want a woman? Why would you not want? Like, why do you want this? What days and times do you want? So we're already we're ready to be like, give you the one that you want, as opposed to just give you anybody and it doesn't work out. Okay. So that's a lot of front end work. Okay. And then once you're in the room with them, for kids in particular, play is play. So there's different types of play therapy. There's like non-directive, which is my style, which is we invite them into the space and offer them the opportunity to lead me. So hey, and then you can do directed choices. So hey, welcome to the playroom. There is 3 options we can do today. We can do sand tray, we can paint, or we can, go outside and go take a walk. Are you interested in those, or do you have an idea? So that is directed because I gave 3 options and I also gave free choice. Okay. So that helps them engage because they feel powerful. And again, I'm always going to empowerment because that's what makes people want to be anywhere, because they feel like they want to be there and you didn't force them.
I understand.
Yeah.
I feel more schools should take on that, technique instead of the techniques they take on. Sometimes I feel like it's forced upon you, and you're shoved into things that the school may feel they're trying to help you in. It probably could, but just not in the setting that it's in sometimes. Sometimes I feel like the environment that, programs are in are just not, inclusive to who the person is.
Totally. Well, they're getting rid of PE and arts and music, so of course people are bored and not stimulated and not learning. I mean, it's just, they know that people know the research, people know the data. At this point, it's funding, it's intention, it's what is the purpose of schools if they're not to stimulate. So, it's a value system thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, lack of value, personally, but I'm not gonna go there. That's a totally different show. We're not gonna talk about that now. That's cool.
Revisit.
We're gonna table that. All right. What other clients do you serve besides youth?
Besides youth? Well, like I said, it's really the whole family model. We are trying to develop a movie about Black mental health, and it's moving forward. Department of Public Health is going to fund 2 screenings of it. Okay. So it's so exciting. So now I just need to make the movie.
How did you? Okay, well, that's key. Okay, but how did you get the Department of Health to come over and get on board with that?
I thought we established that I was a boss.
Tell us some of your boss magic. We know you're a boss. We know you're out here making moves. But how do you make these moves? Because seriously, in this day and age, getting people to put into the Black community and to it's hard sometimes from my view. It's just my perspective. I can't say for everyone else, just for my perspective. It's hard, and I see people out here grinding, trying to get the help or trying to get the services, but no one is helping them out, or they're just trickling along the way. So how do you get these people to come out to support your dreams, to support your
I just grind. Every moment I'm thinking about, I have ideas and I'm thinking about how to take action on my ideas. I'm a very action-oriented person. I think that I specialize in anxiety and trauma, and the yoga piece that I've introduced into my practice really benefited me as a person. And that's when I would call it the up level. I went through some really hard stuff in my life personally, like custody battles, and that has effects on you.
Yeah.
And I think that's why my programming really shifted to be towards the mother and towards single mothers and families, because I experienced it. I was like, this is hard, And as a single mother, like I said, my son just impassioned me in so many ways. I became more of a social advocate. I feel passion for Black people. As a Black person, I feel like a calling, to use every bit of my power that I have in the world to make a difference, because I don't see enough people doing it. And I think I'm being blessed. I don't think I'm doing anything. I think that when I was able to heal and do the work on myself, it gave me an energy and a presence that when I walk into rooms, I don't feel nervous around people. I used to have some extreme anxiety. I couldn't talk to you. I would never be able to do this interview.
What?
I couldn't speak. I now get speaking engagements. I would stutter. I talk very, very fast. A lot of things were going on with me because I was anxious. And I didn't even know why I was anxious. I just kind of have been an anxious child. I don't know what happened. It just was happening, And a lot of us have that.
Yeah, I know I do.
Yeah,
so, yes.
And a lot of us have to overcome it. And I think that I really overcame it through constantly just going through stuff and then getting through it with breath. I have a breath practice. I have a restorative yoga practice for myself. I meditate. I eat well. I take walks. I go to art classes with my son. I hike. I travel. I do all the wellness. I go to sound baths and spas. I have spa routines, all in the effort to keep myself fueled so I can be blessed in this way.
True.
So I walk into rooms knowing that I'm blessed because God got me. And my mission is a good mission. So I walk in and ask for what I want to people who could give it to me. And I actually find people who is the person who did your movie? Who's the person who did this? I will go onto LinkedIn or any group and find who the president of anything is, and I'll invite myself and I say, hello, my name is Nakeya. I want to be your friend. And they will become my friend. So that's how I get into rooms. That people are like, how'd you get there? How are you this? I wanted to. I wanted to. But that's the answer, and that's why I say all of us can. We just have to have confidence that we will be heard, and then if somebody shuts the door in our face, we'll be like, oh, that one wasn't for me. That was for them,
You are inspiring. I'm just letting you know that right now.
Thank you.
So I could have put one of those words at the top, but yes, I'm just going to throw that right there. All right. So what are some of the things that you like? What are some of the things you want people to know about you? Look into the camera. Tell these people out here what you want them to know about you right now. And the services that you provide and all the things that you do. Talk to the people.
Hi, people. I love you. You are loved. You are safe. And you have people out there advocating for you, me and Ty. And if you want to have a voice, you should talk to Ty, you should talk to me.
Yes.
Because we are not to be operating in silos. It's not possible anymore to operate in a silo, to be isolated and alone and try to build and grind. It's not going to work. We have to have each other. And when I say I'm blessed and I walk into rooms and I ask for what I want, I only know that I could walk into a room and ask for what I want because I have a team of people behind me that I've been nurturing and treating well and talking to them about my ideas as I went. So that took community. That took village. I cannot at all do anything I want to do at my business, with my son, in my life, with Ty. Without Ty, I couldn't be here. I wouldn't be on this camera. I'd just be at home talking to y'all by myself on a selfie camera, So we have to work together. And I do empowerment coaching. I help people get out of ruts that they're in. But that's not my primary thing that I do. It's something that I help to do because I have a passion. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like your family is hopeless, if you're feeling like you're worried about your children, if you're feeling like you have no one, we have telehealth options. We have so many networks within the Inland Empire, the LA, that we can try to help you get somewhere where you need help. So mental health is important. Wellness is important. So that's what I'm about. I'm a beast. I call myself a beast. I say all my whole group is, we're Team Beast, y'all. And they're like, why do you say that? I was like, because I'm an animal.
So, okay, real quick question. What is your spirit animal?
What's so funny about that is my spirit animal, I think, is a sloth. I'm like a vicious sloth. Like, I'm like,
A vicious sloth.
like, don't come too close. My arms are long.
Yes,
You
I know
know?
they have claws, but I'm like, okay.
I like the sloth because I think the sloth is like just minding its business, at peace, doing what it's got to do. It's gonna eat. It's gonna move. It's gonna get there. You might not see it move, but it got there, right?
Yeah, you're gonna wait for it to move.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, sloth. I never would have guessed that about you. Okay.
Did I tell you what it used to be when I was a kid and people used to ask me, what's your animal to describe you? When I had like a lot of anxiety, I would say rabbit.
What?
Because I move a lot and I move around a lot and I have to do things, but it was anxiety talking, you know? So I think I've transitioned into like this, I'm okay with, you described zenful. I'm okay with me being zenful and I love her. So she's a sloth.
So, all right. Now, spirit animals is not what we do around here on Word with Ty Brownlow. But we're going to go with the question that our show is basically known for. And Miss Nakeya Fields, what is the one word that best describes you and why?
I would say passion. So you've seen it. I told you I was an animal and a beast and a sloth. That takes passion to hold a lot of roles in many people's lives and act as leader for many people without, like taking advantage of people's trust or like mistreating them because you got some power. You know, so I think my passion allows me to stay empathetic. So passion.
Okay, all right. I love it. Well, look, I have enjoyed you. You sloth, I'm trying to get over that right now. I'll probably get over that later on, but no, I have enjoyed you. You have been very energetic. I love your energy. I love your passion. I love the zen you have brought to us today. And man, this is Word with Ty Brownlow. And remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. This is Nakeya T Fields. And tell them what you do again.
I'm a therapist, licensed clinical social worker, registered play therapist, boss lady.
This is Word with Ty Brownlow. We out.